All right, let's talk about all this MGM hacking stuff going on here since it's been over a week since this first started. And at this point, I think there's enough things that have changed that, sit down, do an update video. Not my more polished videos, but hey, nonetheless, they're doing pretty well as far as views because this is a big topic right now here in Las Vegas. So, we're going to go ahead and cover this as best I can. I'm going to get this out as soon as I can to you guys because the situation is changing a lot. So one thing about the situation changing a lot, some people are asking, hey, when's this going to be resolved? When do you think it's going to be resolved? Is there an estimated time on this? No, absolutely not. Not at all whatsoever. Okay, this is like a situation like this is crisis mode for a company like MGM or any major company to have this happen. So when you're trying to, when you're in a fight to get back control of your own business system, your own operating system, there's no timeline on something like this, okay? So just keep that in mind. Again, like I said earlier, the situation is very fluid. I do have some notes here on my phone. I'll be looking back and forth at this, so bear with me as I go through here. But MGM had recently put out a statement on Twitter, actually not long before I am sitting down here to film this. So they did put out a statement updating people on some of the things that are working. So they talked about stuff like they said their dining, the pools, entertainment, spas, right? They're all operating normally. They are welcoming guests to come and stay here so you can get more of a normal experience. So the gaming floors, the slots, table games, poker rooms, those are all open. Although the latest I've heard is that most of the places, there's some places, and it mentions here, are able to actually get a voucher now for slots and video poker, but some are not. That's the other thing to keep in mind too, is when it comes to some of the things you're hearing with what's happening with MGM and these properties, something might be working at one property, but does not mean all of them have it working. That was a situation with room keys. That was a situation with ATMs and that kind of thing. So they might be functioning at one place, but they also, may not work somewhere else. Also, something might work one day and then the next day it doesn't. That happened with sports books, where on Friday, so several days ago, sports books were working fine. And then Saturday, they were down completely. And then Sunday, they were like, off and on. So sometimes you might be like a one step forward, two steps back kind of thing. So that situation happens as well. It says you can use slot dollars, free play. It says slots are recording gaming spin. It was a big concern among people. It says ticket in, ticket out systems are running. Our amazing employees, yes, we're going to talk about that in just a moment here, are available to help guests in the intermittent issues. We thank you for your patience. Yes, it's been a big one, especially for, all the tourists coming here interacting with the employees. This has not been fun for them. So that was the thing that MGM had recently put out on Twitter and on their social media. So, keep that in mind that, when it comes to the situation, and as I think of it being worse than we thought, the biggest group that I can see right now that is worse than we thought it was for are the employees. So MGM here in Nevada by itself is somewhere in the vicinity of 50,000 employees. So, you have and they have more employees across other states in the country. So you got tens of thousands of employees right now. And some of the info that was coming about that, like when it comes to pay, has been true. So there was concern that I did a quick clip on it about, concerned about employees getting paid on time. MGM put out a statement saying they were going to get paid on time, but there has been issues with that. So I've heard from numerous who said, they can't, access their system online to see their hours, or they're being shorted hours, or they're just getting paid late, right? MGM is trying to get checks cut to people as soon as they can to expedite that process, just because, again, this is like, this is something that I don't know that there's a preparation in place for this, right? These casinos try to fight off hacker attacks as best they can. Sometimes they do pay ransoms, but to get to this level, I don't know that there's a blueprint in place for something that reaches this magnitude. But it's the employees right now who are definitely, I would have to say, from what I can tell, that are getting hardest hit by all this. So I did put out on my social media about a message I had been sent, and several MGM employees have sent me messages and given me updates on things like this. Now I'm in year 10 of doing this, so there's no shortage of people since I've been doing this who have followed my content, moved here, and they've gotten jobs here in Vegas and this kind of thing. So that's a good part of where I hear quite a bit of this as I go and find this again. So you guys probably saw my Twitter's going crazy right now. Even as I record this, it's going pretty wild. So, the concerns for the employees are the fact that, can't see their schedule, so some are having to call in to check and find their schedule online. Regards to vacation, PTO hours, info pertaining to their 401k, which when I did put that out online, some people said you can't see that with Prudential, so you can check that with a third party. Time card and toques, attendance points. Basically, it sounds like a lot of the employment info, if not all of it, has been hacked into. So there are things like, social security numbers. People have on their insurance, like their spouse or their kids, their social security numbers as well. So, and employees are obviously concerned and upset about that. Sounds like the communication they're getting is, they're kind of in the dark on this whole situation right now, or they feel there's ones who feel like they're being left in the dark. But again, this is crisis mode for MGM to try to get everything back on track. They're dealing with a lot of moving parts at one time. Remember, this is a multi-billion-dollar corporation who have, some of these individual properties are worth multiple billions of dollars. And you've got multiple properties, not just in Las Vegas, but across the country. And this is a massive problem. With MGM, losing, as one analyst estimated, 4.2 million to 8.4 million a day. I mean, they're trying to get their revenue and their cash flow back on track. So, because they need that revenue. I mean, think about that. We're in what? Day like 9, 10, let's say 10 days has been going on. That's $42 million to $84 million. Whew! That they're allegedly, estimated to have been losing in this whole thing. That's a huge amount of money. And so they need that money. They need that revenue to try to continue their operation, right? And part of the cost of business is your payroll. So, they're in a tough spot here where they're trying to get that back on track to get employees paid. But understandably, for the employee side, they're trying to want to know what's going on and figure out the whole situation too. Because, especially when people expect to get paid by a certain date, and if they're told they're going to get paid by a date, and then they don't, they're understandably going to be upset with that. So this is huge on a lot of levels. So there's obviously the employee side, where they're probably right now getting the short end of the stick more than anyone on this, as far as I can tell. Then you have the business side, where they're just trying to get stuff back on track. And I'll understand too, when it comes to this kind of thing with, especially huge corporations, they do have financial options in place that, when it comes to finances, when it comes to taxes, they have options that like you and I don't even know exist. So huge companies like this, I mean, they have access to certain lines of credit and loans and all sorts of other things that, the average person is not going to even know about. So, I mean, they're dealing in a different business game, a different tax game than, even the vast majority of businesses. So it's going to be interesting to see how the whole thing pans out in there, with MGM getting employees paid, with them getting, back up to speed, while also trying to get, everything else squared away. So some people have asked, hey, should you cancel the trip? I'll share with you guys what I can when it comes to this info as best I can, but I understand info changes, okay? And then when you get into something like this, a lot of it's, hey, I heard this, this employee told me this. And like I said, different things can be happening at different properties. They're not all going to be uniform. And sometimes it's hard to decipher. That's why some people might hear one thing, oh, I heard this was going on over here, so, they think it's the same at all the other properties. That's not necessarily the case. So, and with a situation like this, where there's so many moving parts on so many levels of it, just between the company themselves, the employees, with law enforcement they're working with federal law enforcement on top of this, with properties in multiple states, there's so much happening and going on right now. So I try to give you guys the info I can, but even with what I give you, it's only so much. And that's just what I'm able to piece together in all this and try to put together in a video for you guys to make the decision for yourselves. But there's also way more that no one knows, that nobody in the public knows when it comes to this. So, should you cancel your vacation? I mean, if I was just coming here from California or something like, down the road like that, I would still come, okay? Because if you're going to stay here, there are people who said, hey, they're, gambling or going to shows or restaurants or other places. You can still do those things here at the MGM properties, but it sounds like they've got that more on track than it was just a couple of days ago. So it's getting back to being more normal. But, I also understand why some people have said they canceled their trip, especially earlier on in this process. Earlier on this is happening because, they might only come once a year, twice a year. I've talked to 2 different couples who were here from London. who said, yeah, they come once, maybe twice a year, and this is when they earn their tier credits to try to keep their status. And they're worried that their credits were not going to get counted. MGM has said they will, but they're concerned about that, understandably so, to fly from another continent to come here. So depending on your situation, that'll determine what you ultimately end up deciding to do, what you think is best for you. So I want to see if there's anything else I needed to note after this. Something else to keep in mind when it comes to this, like I said, this being like the crisis level it is, even the aftermath of this, even the aftermath of whenever the whole dust seems to settle for the most part, something this big happens with this many people's personal info, whether it's your own employees, whether it's your customers, there's probably going to be a whole legal battle that goes on after this too. And this is not shocking. Something of this magnitude happens, you're going to have to expect some legal battles to come after it. There's also concern in the aftermath too of this, and people talking about F1 weekend, Super Bowl weekend, right? Was this just a preview of something else that could be coming? We don't know. Hopefully that does not happen, but that's what we're looking at right now. So I want to try to give you guys a perspective I could of, the employees are definitely having a tough time right now because they've been working extra hours. They've been MGM's been pulling employees from their corporate offices who don't even work at the properties here to fill in outside their normal job duties and do what they can. So from what I can see, the employees on the ground level have handled this very well. So the pay issues and the things they're having with this system are obviously frustrating for them, but there's also, a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes with the corporate side of things and dealing with, local and federal law enforcement and federal agencies and trying to get those situations resolved that is just so complex, to look at both sides of the equation here and how it's affecting everyone. So company, employees, and the tourists. So that's what I got for you guys. There's probably stuff going on. There might be some few things I missed. If you guys have anything to share, please do. Stuff might change the moment I stop recording this video. So that's how it is going right now. So you guys tell me what you think about this. And man, I'll see you guys soon.